Hey, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. This lecture we're going to look at S3 command line interface. We're going to create an EC2 instance. We're going to go in and we're going to start running some S3 commands using the AWS S3 command line interface. And we're going to look at what happens when we've got some buckets in Northern Virginia, in London, and then in Sydney, and how the command lines changes. And the whole point of this is just get you into, get you into a good habit when you're using the command line. This is not something that actually comes up in the exam. It's actually to help you through the rest of the 3 associate courses. So it helps you with troubleshooting. So it is going to be a really quick lab, and you will need to log into the AWS console. Okay, so I'm in the AWS console. The very first thing I want to do is go in and provision a new EC2 instance. So we'll go ahead and do a Linux AMI. We're going to keep all the default settings. Note we're not attaching any roles to this EC2 instance just yet. We're going to go ahead and hit next, and we're going to go and call this, let's call this name, so IAM EC2 instance. And I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Going to add this to my web DMZ security group, which just has ports 80, 443, and 22 open to the world. Going to go ahead and hit next. I'm going to go ahead and launch this instance. I'm going to use an existing key pair that I have. So while that instance is launching, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and create some S3 buckets. So let's go over to S3, which is under storage. And so in here, I'm going to create 3 buckets. So let's call this one a Cloud Guru and then Northern Virginia. And I'm going to change the region to make sure it is actually in Northern Virginia, so US East 1. In fact, I might just make this easier for me, so I'll call this US East 1. And I'm going to go ahead and hit create. The next one I'm going to create is going to be a Cloud Guru, and then we'll call this EU, and then West, and then 2. And I'm going to make sure that is in the EU West 2 region, so that's in London. Go ahead and hit create. And then the final bucket I'm going to create is going to be called a Cloud Guru, and then AP Southeast 2. I'll make sure this is in Sydney. And where's Sydney gone? Here we go. Go ahead and hit create. So now I've got my 3 A Cloud Guru buckets that I've created, one in Northern Virginia, one in London, and then one in Sydney. Let's go and add some objects here. So I'm just going to add some random objects to it. So it's a picture of me and my mates at a rodeo in Austin, which we went to for serverless conf. So that is now up in our Sydney bucket. It does take a little bit of time, considering, obviously I'm in London, so it's going around the world. Let's go back over here. Let's go to EU West 1 and go ahead and upload here. So I'm going to add another picture. So this is my kids in the swimming pool. We just got back from holiday in Portugal. It's really nice. And then the final one I'm going to do is over here, a Cloud Guru US East 1. So I'm going to upload this. And again, we'll just probably do the a Cloud Guru team at serverless conf in Austin. I'm going to go ahead and upload that. So I've now got 3 objects in 3 different buckets around the world. I've got an EC2 instance. The very next thing we need to do is just go over to Identity Access Management under Security, Identity, and Compliance. And we're going to go ahead and create a new role. You probably already have this. We're going to call it the My S3 admin access role. So we just type in S3 in here. We're going to go for the policy of Amazon S3 full access, and I'm going to call this, My S3 admin access. Go ahead and create the role, and there we go. So we've got the role. Now the last thing we need to do is go in and assign this to EC2. I'm not actually going to do this straight away. I just want to show you what would happen if we haven't done this just yet. So let's grab the public IP address and go over to our terminal window. Okay, so I'm in my terminal window. Just need to type SSH EC2-user and then and the public IP address, and then the name of my key pair, which is my EC2, and then key and then pair. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to hit yes. I'm going to elevate my privileges to root. I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just try and see our S3 bucket. So we're going to type in AWS S3 LS. Now, of course, this isn't going to work because I haven't configured my secret access key or access key ID, and I haven't configured any roles. So I could go ahead and try and store my secret access key and my access key ID on my EC2 instance. It's not very secure because if this got compromised, then I'd have some problems. So what I'm going to go do is attach my role to this EC2 instance. And this is very, very new. And in fact, it can come up in the exams, and no one's quite sure whether or not they've actually updated the exam questions, because it used to be a big exam topic about that you could only attach an EC2 instance, that you could only attach a role to an EC2 instance upon creation, but that is no longer the case. You can actually do it now using the command line or using the AWS console. So I'm in the AWS console right now. The way we attach our roles, we just go to Actions and we go to Instance Settings and we go Attach Replace IAM Role. We select the role that we just created and hit Apply. And there you go, that operation has succeeded. If you do get an error message when you're trying to do this, it means that you created your role and then you're immediately trying to attach it to an EC2 instance. If you do that within like a 5-second or 10-second window, you can get an error message. You just need to wait a few more seconds and then it should work. Now, if we go back over to our terminal window, again, if you get an error message when you type in AWS S3 LS, it just means that you have to wait a few more seconds, but it should work almost immediately. And there we go, I can see all my S3 buckets. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to copy the files, and let's just start with our Northern Virginia region first. So I'm going to type in AWS S3 and then copy, and then the name of my bucket, so it's S3, and then it was A Cloud Guru, and then it was US East 1, and I want to copy, probably should have put recursive. I'm going to copy the whole contents of the bucket, so I'll put recursive in here, recursive, and then I want to copy this over to my home directory, so home, and then hyphen, so EC2 hyphen user, and go ahead and hit enter. And so this has now copied that file, so acgaustin.jpg, to my home directory, my EC2 user directory, I mean, and you can see it in here. Now, if I was to do exactly the same command, but we change the bucket from US East 1 over to, let's say, EU West, and it was EU West 2, so London, go ahead and hit enter, you're going to get this error message, and it's saying it's an invalid request. Well, why? And if you actually read it, it says that you need to use the region argument. So I'm going to go ahead and hit up. I'm going to go and add region, and then I'm going to type in my region. So it's EU, then West, and then hyphen, and then 2. And then that will copy the file down to my bucket. And you can see it's downloaded the pool one. So if I type in ls, I've now got 2 files. Now, if I was to do this again for Sydney, but if I take this out, so take out the region, and we change this, instead of it being EU West 2, we change it over to, so it's Asia Pacific South East, and then it's 2, and hit enter. And it can take a little bit of time because it is going all the way around the world. There we go, it's downloaded it. So it really depends on which region your bucket is based in, whether or not you need to use the region flag. So if I was you, I would get into the habit of using the region flag when using the AWS command line for S3, because then it doesn't matter where your buckets are based or where your EC2 instance is based, it is always going to work. So that is it for this lecture, guys. Feel free to go ahead and delete that EC2 instance, and if you want to delete those test buckets, but it is, like I said, always a good habit to get into using this flag when you're using S3 for the rest of this course, particularly if you're operating out of newer regions. So if you've got any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.